Let me say a pleasant good evening to another person who has definitely not a stranger to the Observer. A pleasant good evening to you, Mr. Gary Griffith, political leader of the NT and former Commissioner of Police.
Hi, good evening. Good evening to you. And also, I am also the person that's in Keith Rowley's head. My address has changed.
Yeah, Solia, I don't know what is the problem.
Well, I know if it is the man in love. I'd like to somebody could please let him know that I'm happily married, because I think that I'm definitely in his head. I think he thinks about me all the time.
Yeah, because let's be straightforward here, Gary. We are looking at with 517 murders for the year already. We still have a few weeks to go before we usher in a brand new year, 2024. Some of us are hoping that we even live to see 2024 the way things are going. Innocent bystanders are being killed. You know, we hear you have a domestic situation, but yet still an innocent man was gunned down. People are being dragged out of their homes. Senior citizens, and we spoke about this before, are now soft targets. They're afraid to leave. They don't go out anymore. And yet still, when one is hoping that there's going to be some sort of maturity, forget the politics, some sense of maturity, to say, listen, we want to sit down and deal with this, because it affects every sector of our society, our economy, our healthcare, our education, our housing. It affects every aspect of it. So this should be priority number one. Not about the fact that Gary Griffith is coming and Gary Griffith is going to be sitting down across from me and I think that he's, you know, I mean, all of this utter rubbish. Where does that put us?
It puts us in a position where, once again, criminals 1, law-abiding citizens 0. Yet another own goal has been scored thanks to Keith Rowley. The country needs to remember this is the nature of the beast. This has been his personality. One of the better prime ministers in this country said it. He warned us. When this man doesn't have his way, you see hate, you see animosity, you see a man totally out of control if he cannot have his way. So all the PNM supporters listening, remember, this is the man who virtually caused the PNM to collapse in 2010. So if he doesn't have his own way, he'd rather mash it up. And this is what is happening now. Because he had an issue with me, he never, listen, Keith Rowley never thought that, listen, 89% of the country wanted to keep Gary Griffith as commissioner. He didn't care that crime was the highest reduction in violent crime in 17 years when I was there. He didn't care that public trust and confidence in the police moved from 14% when I started to 59%. He didn't care about any of those things. His thing is, look, I want sometimes politicians will want to have commissioners who could be puppets, who could do what they want. And I am not that. So if it is that he wanted to have a commissioner of police who would adhere to his bidding and target political opponents to have them arrested, wrong man. But at the end of the day, we had a situation in crisis. As you just said, almost close to 600 families for Christmas would be without their husband or their brother or their son. The country is washing in blood. And instead of this man thinking of, listen, let me do what is right for the country, let me put aside politics, that is all he has. You continue to state that you cannot expect to lead a country if you continue to show that you hate half of the country. His stupid comment yesterday that the opposition does not want to assist. It was Kamala Prasad-Bissessar and Gary Griffith who early this year said, we are willing to help the government because we understand the situation. So to talk total nonsense that the opposition is not interested. The man constantly has done everything in these crime talks to show that he has no interest whatsoever. He was rude and out of place to put the Attorney General to communicate with the Prime Minister. They were fast and out of place as well to give her a deadline. Then they decided to say, we will have 5, you will have 4. Then they decided to set the agenda on their own. This is not a subcommittee of Parliament. Then they started feeling to tell Kamala, we must tell you who you must bring. Listen, Trinidad and Tobago, to anybody of the 130,000 who voted for that Balise on local government election, thankfully 60,000 more than the 130,000 knew better. How could you think? How could this help you? How could this help your family? How could this make you safer? Look at what he's doing. He has no care or concern. It is about him. It is about his bitterness, his hatred, his anger. And let me summarize it again. There's one, I believe that Keith Rowley is losing it. He is becoming unstable and he needs professional help. I do not think that the country should have someone who is in leadership, who leads the country, and it seems that he seems to be becoming very unstable.
Yeah, I mean, when you listen to the language here, the government had seen it fit not to renew the contract of Gary Griffith. And you, meaning Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, coming to tell me now that we are to have crime talks. And unless Gary Griffith there, it wouldn't have crime talks. Need I tell you any more? The same Gary Griffith who, when the government took a chance and gave... Did the government take a chance, or was Gary Griffith qualified? I mean, there's a process. Again, why is it that the process is always omitted as though it was someone who picked up the phone and called their partner and said, listen, we need you at the helm of Commissioner of Police? This wasn't done by chance. There was a process, and Gary Griffith topped the process. Why is that so hard for the Prime Minister to understand?
Okay, let me tell you something. Keith Rowley is the ultimate hypocrite, because he's doing like if he did me a favor and he gave me a chance. In that exam in 2018, there were 12 different assessments. I taught almost every single one. I acquired 82.9%. Stephen Williams placed second with about 75%. Lola Christopher placed 12th with about 52%. I got the highest points than anyone who applied for the post of commissioner. It was there. And the stupidity of Keith Rowley, he is a soldier. And what is wrong with that? 31 of the 45 U.S. presidents were in the military. What is wrong with that? If he is so ignorant in understanding law enforcement, guess who is the commissioner of police in Jamaica? A previous soldier. So the stupidity of doing like if you did me a favor. The favor was, it was the highest reduction in violent crime in 17 years. The favor was to the country, 89% of the country, they were pleased with what happened. The favor was crime went down as the number 4 concern behind health, education, and the economy. The favor was it went up to 59% public confidence in the police service. After I left in 1 year, it went down to 8%. That is his doing. It is his doing. So the country must understand where he is. And furthermore, his concept of what he deems a failure, it shows the stupidity of this man and the hypocrisy. Because in March 2021, in a cabinet meeting, Keith Rowley, when everything was going wrong, he said if he could get 10 Gary Griffith, he could fix the country. I challenge him to say that is not true. But that is failure. He then went, and when he found out that I was not interested, I did not reapply or ask to renew my contract as Commissioner of Police. I went for a 3-year tour of duty. He is the one who sent messages to have me reapply. He is the one who went to the Attorney General to change the law to ensure that a non-career police officer can act as Commissioner of Police until the substantive position will be set in. So all of that shows the man is a liar. So you're calling me a failure, but you changed the law for me to remain. You told your cabinet you wanted 10 Gary Griffiths. And then remember, in 2020 general election, he made me the PNM poster boy in his manifesto, where he put me as the centerfold. I never thought I'd be a centerfold, but I was the centerfold poster boy in the PNM manifesto for the PNM to say, listen, we failed in everything, but we gave you Gary Griffith. So why did you put me in your manifesto? Why did you tell your cabinet you wanted 10 of me? Why did you tell the Attorney General to change the law so I will remain? Keith Rowley, you're a liar and a hypocrite. So when you speak about failure, you need to look in the mirror. You need to look at your Minister of National Security. You definitely need to look at your Minister of Finance.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you talk about Gary Griffith, people say, well, okay, did he make a difference? Did he make a dent? Was there anything relevant there? Let's remind them. I mean, in the Senate recently, the question was asked to the National Security Minister if he was happy that with the 663 murders in the period of September 2022 to 23, the percentage of suspects and persons arrested and charged for murders was 16%. And it was the National Security Minister who said that he is definitely not happy with that. He's not. These were not things that were being bandied about when you were sitting there in the big chair. These were not things that had to be questioned. And of course, he said it is the reason why he as minister, with the support of the cabinet and the government, would have spent a lot of time and resources to improving the scientific response to crime. Remind us, please, who was it that was there with the 10 minutes later? Who was there when exactly anything went on and there was a rapid response? Who was centering on the core issues of what was taking place and the crime as it evolved in our face? And who was it that brought that sense of security to the citizenry? Please remind us.
I actually, again, I would have said this message more to the PNM supporters who listen. Understand what it is you just said, Kate. And up until August 2021, we revamped the 999 system. We formed an emergency response patrol, put in 100 vehicles plastered around the country, GPS tracking, monitoring their area of responsibility, and with that, anytime someone called 999 with a distress call, you can get a response in 5 minutes. It wasn't accidental. You had a few moments later. It wasn't accidental when it is that you had criminals apologizing because we were arresting them. It wasn't accidental that 10 kidnappings We were able, for the first time in history, we were breaking down doors, intercepting vehicles with kidnappers having victims in their vehicles or in their homes and breaking down and arresting kidnapped victims. We put an end to kidnapping. We put an end to home invasions because they will jump the wall. By the time they come back over, we were there with them. We formed that special operation response team that put fear in the criminal elements. It was the highest reduction in violent crime in 17 years. That my last full year, there were 342 murders, and then after it was continuing to go down. So we were setting ourselves to get into the 200s. Instead, because of Keith Rowley's interference, we are now going into the 600s. So from going from the 300s into the 200s, we are going into 600s into 700s. That is what Keith Rowley has done. It is his doing. So every single thing that we have done, even with your phones, we had a police app that was the biggest app in the country. People were able to do online reporting. We had a gender-based violence unit that was dealing with domestic violence. We had an SOS on your phone that if you press that buzzer, we can get to you. And people, that is why people felt safer. They felt that the police were doing their job. So it is the same police officers. So when Keith Rowley decided to criticize the police service, these were the same officers that public trust and confidence went to 59%. It going down to 8% has nothing to do with the officers, but it has to do with the change in leadership. Who is to blame for that? Keith Rowley. And again, I could say Trinidad and Tobago. If it is you have so much hatred, bitterness, anger, and instead of doing what is right for the country because you vexed, it shows how selfish you are. You don't care about the country, you don't care about the citizens. So to the persons who voted for the PNM, remember, this man, when he plays golf, he has about 30 police officers armed to the teeth, looking and staring to make sure that somebody can't even strip at him. What happens to you when you go home? You don't even know if your child is going to come home safely because the product of opportunity that criminals have, it is there now. The deterrent is no longer there. That's 2 and 3 minutes you're seeing police vehicles everywhere you turn, it is no longer there. That is what this man deems as a failure. It gives the impression that the government has some type of sympathy or affiliation to help the criminals in this country rather than the law-abiding citizens.
Gary, we are at 517. If we wake up tomorrow morning and that number is still 517, we are going to be surprised more than anything else. We as a nation have become immune to the fact that, listen, this thing is an everyday thing. The only thing that surprises us now is the method that these crimes are being carried out. And we hear about it. You're not safe in the church. You're not even safe in the beach. You have people who are cutting their own lawn and they're being robbed of a brush cutter, a lawnmower, whatever they have on their possession. I mean, this thing is serious. I mean, you can't make up this stuff. This is not a Hollywood production. And when you have a prime minister who had said that there were more people in the opposition who spend their day worrying about the police than maybe people on Duncan Street, what does that tell you?
Well, and again, it goes to Keith Rowley. The one thing Keith Rowley is good at is character assassination, smearing the character of others. That is all he does. Every time the man speaks, it's to argue, it's to buff people, it's to shout at people, it's to bad talk people. That is all he does. When last has anyone seen Keith Rowley smile? Even the media is intimidated by him. When he made the lie to say that he can't make any comment pertaining to what is happening with myself, that is a lie. They said they couldn't go to Parliament because Parliament is the one place where you could lie and not be sued. And that is what he does. So his way of being a leader is to try to destroy the character of others with lies. So when he speaks about every single thing with him is about go and drink your rum, go and drink your rum. But how many times has anyone seen? There are 3 major political leaders in the country now. The political leader of the PNM, the UNC, and the NTA. Have you ever seen the political leader of the UNC and the NTA holding a drink? Keith Rowley, I have about 20-something different videos of him holding a drink, conga lining, whining, jamming on stage. But then every single time he speaks, it's to talk about who drunk and who drinking rum. And then he has his little minions giggly, laughing about it. So Keith Rowley, when you speak, and then you speak about everybody who is not in the PNM is a thief. Everyone is a crook. Everyone is a criminal. But I can tell you, the political leader of the UNC and the NTA, we have never been investigated by the Integrity Commission. Can the political leader of the PNM say the same for himself? The political leader of the UNC and the NTA, we have never been part of a police investigation. We have never been investigated and questioned by the police on any matter. Can Keith Rowley say the same about himself? So remember what he did with Emailgate. That is his plan. He got into government in 2015 on a lie. And that is how he lives. He lives on a thing of, look, I'm not good, I'm incompetent, but if I decide to smear the character of others, say that they're drunk, say that they're thieves, That is how you want to lead a country. I continue to tell the country, you cannot expect to lead a country if you continue to show that you hate half of the country. This man must be removed. He seems to be very unstable, and he needs professional help.
And Gary, I have to ask you this. I mean, he stopped short saying that he was injuncted from telling the country what was in the firearms audit. And again, it seems as though, is that in some way supposed to be the sword of Damascus hanging over your head?
Not at all. And again, he's a liar. He's a blatant liar. What he tried to do again, to the PNM till they die, only in a banana republic can politicians hire persons, handpick them, say that you now will do an investigation, turn civilians into police officers, let them do a report, submit a report to the same person who will pay them, which is the politicians, pay them big money, which means you could virtually tell them what to put in the report, and then read it out to the public to say that this person is this, that, and the other. That is unbelievable. It is like if imagine we get in government and we handpick and pick 3 persons who have a UNC party card, or 3 persons closely aligned to us, and then we tell them, I want you to stay so, I'm going to pay $500,000. They then give the report, and then we read it out and say, Minister Imbert is this and that, and Member of Parliament Churchong is this and that, and we were told that it was rumor, it was brought to our attention. That is what the man wanted to do. You hire a person totally aligned to you, pay them big money, and then let them write a report that you want them to write, and then read it out to decide to smear the character of others. But to show the stupidity of this man, this report is so bad, it has so much corruption, so much criminal activity, but after 2 years, not one senior police officer has been arrested, not one firearm dealer has been arrested, not one firearm user or holder has been arrested. So it shows that they were all lies. But that is Keith Rowley. So that is why he wanted to go to Parliament to read this out. Because Parliament is the one place where you can lie and not be sued. So what the court told him is, no. You can't go into Parliament to read out a report about someone that you didn't even interview. That these 3 clowns who he hired, they didn't even have the common sense to understand. If you're writing a report and you're going to destroy the character of someone with lies, you're under natural justice. You're supposed to at least speak to the person. They didn't do that. So Keith Rowley knows exactly why he can't come out in public. So the court never stopped him from going in public to speak about it. What the court said is that you can't say it in Parliament. And that is why he can't. So listen, just think about it. If this thing was so damning, why doesn't say it outside? Because he knows that if he said, this report says Gary Griffith is this, that, and the other, I will bust his throat. I will sue him for every cent he has.
Yeah, and Gary, let me ask you as well. I mean, this has not just affected you, and I mean, basically your back is broad. You know exactly what you're getting into. You've read the fine print. You know local politics. But what about your family? Going back to even that editorial in one of our daily newspapers that spoke about a troubling abuse of power around the FIU action as being mysterious and disturbing, of course, affecting you and your wife, Nicole Dyer Griffith. I mean, do you think, and I don't think you're naive, but do you think that this is going to intensify as we get closer to the general elections?
Oh, definitely, because remember, Keith Rowley is desperate. Anytime a third party joins with the major party that opposes the PNM, they will be annihilated. It happened in 1989, it happened in 1986, it happened in 1995, and it happened again in 2010. So it's going to happen again. You saw it in the local government election, 190,000 votes to 130,000 with a 30% voter turnout. You do the math, that's 60% you're going to get for general election. So that's 260 to PNM, to roughly 380, 400 to the UNC and the NTA. That is 120,000 more votes, which is exactly what happened in 2010. The People's Partnership got 120,000 more votes than the PNM. So the PNM is fully aware that they have been weighed, measured, and found wanted. The 150,000 floating voters want them out. And so the only way the PNM could get back in now is to lie, is to discredit persons, is to send smear character assassination. That is all they're good at. This one thief, this one corrupt, this one is a drunkard, this one drinking rum. That is all they're good for. That is all they do. There's nothing that the PNM can do right now to serve the country. All you have to do is just deliver. So the nastiness will continue. Look at the situation with the FIU. I saw the document that they were intercepting the phones of me and my wife. That is what is going on. So they are going to use the state resources in any way possible in the hope that they could use a fishing expedition to go witch hunting to hope that they could find something.
Yeah.
If the PM spends more time trying to serve the country, let me just quickly add, look at what happened with the firearms. Out of the 517 murders so far, 465 have been by firearms. And 464 have been by illegal firearms. 464 out of 465. Have you ever heard Rowley or Hines speak about illegal firearms, what they intend to do? Nothing. All they do is speak about legal firearms. And the hypocrisy of this is that the Minister of National Security was harassing me to get about a dozen firearms for persons closely aligned to him, which he denied, which showed that he misled Parliament. You have a Prime Minister who was harassing me to get a firearm dealership license for a partner in Tobago and to build a range so that he could sell hundreds of firearms. So look at the nonsense, the hypocrisy of the Prime Minister and the Minister of National Security. You're concerned about legal firearms. I was providing legal firearms to the small man, the businessman, the person who's the farmer, the person for them to protect themselves if the state is unable to protect you. And they had a problem with that, Trinidad and Tobago. It gives the impression that this government is concerned about the rights of criminals over the rights of law-abiding citizens.
Yeah. Guy, I want to thank you so much for linking with us here. As always, it has been very insightful. Best of luck to you and your entire team, and we will, of course, be talking to you periodically throughout all that is taking place. Stay strong and keep the fight up.
Thank you.
Thank you.